Hello and welcome to this Tuesday broadcast. My name is Alex Davey and I am taking a few minutes today to talk to some of our young adults about what life is like in lockdown. Now, some of you who are viewing this might recognise them because they're also people that have helped out in the children's work over the years, and all of them are part of our SBC community. So they're not just young adults in lockdown, they're also a part of our church family. So let's get to know them a little bit. So Josh, why don't you tell us who you are and where you should be during lockdown?
Hi, I'm Josh, and in normal times I would be at the University of Portsmouth.
I'm Sam, and if we weren't in lockdown, I'd be at work, working as a gymnastics instructor in Harpenden.
Hi, I'm Jermaine. If I wasn't in lockdown, I would be at university in Bedford studying sport and PE.
Hi, I'm Shakira. I'm working in Hitchin.
Hi, I'm Abraham. If we weren't in lockdown, I would have still been in Luton, but I would have been at Luton Sixth Form College.
I'm Nathan. If we weren't in lockdown, I'd be at the University of Southampton.
Hello, I'm Ethan. I am still at the University of the West of England, holed up in my uni house here.
Hello, I'm Ruth. If it wasn't lockdown, I'd be revising hard for A-levels, which would have started next week.
Hi, I'm Ruth. If we weren't in lockdown, I'd be travelling on my gap year. So right now I would be in South Africa.
And my name's Matthew. Ordinarily, I'm a student in Oxford, and I've got my final exams starting 2 weeks from today. So if I wasn't stuck at home, I'd be in a library engrossed in my textbooks. As it is, I'm still going to have to do all the exams. I'm just going to have to do them here and upload the answers online. So I'm revising hard.
I'm Dan. Ordinarily, I'd be at the University of Sheffield studying journalism, but as it is, I have to do that in my room, which is a bit strange. At this time of year, I'd probably be enjoying the Peak District, and I've probably been annoying my family by how much I'm talking about how much I want to do that. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to getting out of lockdown really, but it's not been too bad as it is.
That's great, guys. Let me ask you the second question. Is this easier or harder than what you should be doing, or rather where you should be at this time?
In ways, I think it is easier. I'm under furlough at the moment, so it could be worse. I'm finding ways of keeping busy through running, playing guitar, reading a lot more than I used to. So it's helped me from being super bored, but I do miss the people I work with. And I've only been working as a gymnastics instructor for a few months before the lockdown actually happened. And the relationships I've had with the staff and the members are only just starting to grow. And to not see them for however long is kind of weird. And I also just did enjoy working there so much, and it was a lot of fun. So overall, a bit of both. Definitely things I miss about working, but I'm not finding the lockdown to be too unbearable. I mean, at least not as bad as I thought.
And is that everyone else's experience? Has anyone else got a particularly different view on these few weeks?
For me, it's been a lot harder because college have still been setting us work, which I didn't really expect them to do, but they've been setting us a lot of work every day. And it's been hard to be able to manage that work without support from teachers and stuff like that. So it's been hard to try and get all that work done by yourself.
Thanks, Abraham. Big up the teachers. You see, we teachers do a good job. You miss us when we're not there.
I think it's different. I mean, in a way, it's the same because I'm still doing the same exams. But sometimes when you're kind of looking forward to something as quite a big thing in your mind, and then kind of the whole process around it changes at the last minute, it's quite unsettling. So, I think I've kind of got used to what's happening now, and it's kind of clear in my mind what is happening. It is weird though. I kind of in my mind, I'd been kind of really gearing up for the exams, and I'm still revising, I'm still working, but it is actually just harder to be motivated. It sounds funny, doesn't it? But I'm finding it, I think, harder to really do that ahead of the exam. So yeah, it's different. I guess I'm fortunate in that I'm not kind of at a loose end. I do still have plenty to be doing.
Thank you, Matthew. That's really helpful to hear that. Thank you. Anyone else?
I think for me it's slightly harder because it's just so sudden. I just wasn't expecting this, and so it's slightly harder in terms of the social aspect of living down in Southampton with sort of your university friends down here, because now we're sort of trying to maintain university but not being there. It's harder. But in terms of workload, it's a lot easier because I'm a first year, so they've just cancelled all our final assessments. So that's much easier.
Lucky you.
Yeah, lucky.
Yeah, yeah.
All right for some people, isn't it?
The unexpected good side of the first year. Yeah.
Yeah, good thing for me is that I don't have to stress about exams, and but it's obviously a bit weird because I've always thought I'll do A levels, and now suddenly I've done all the work, but I won't actually have anything to show for it, which is a bit weird. And I miss like the college environment, like seeing friends and just hanging out and stuff. But overall, it's not too bad because I'm a lot more relaxed than I would be.
Yeah. There is a flip side. There is that slightly positive side, isn't it? That not having the exam stress that you might have done.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So the third question is about faith, and I know you're part of our church community. I know you're all Christians, and so I know that faith is something which is a big part of life and a part of your lives. So how has your faith been challenged, or has it gone deeper at this time?
I think the main way my faith has been challenged is by not meeting as a church. Even though you're online and watching a video and taking in the same intellectual content that you would, you're not singing with your church, and you're not meeting people and talking about the sermon as you would afterwards, and sort of sharing each other's company. And I think that's the hardest thing, is that you can't dwell on what you're hearing as much as you normally would, and you're not meeting with people as much. So yeah, it's been challenging in that respect.
Yeah, I think the thing that I found most challenging with faith is that the stuff that we usually consider as like the pointers that you're a Christian, you can't notice now. Like, so people, like, you can't go to church to show that you're Christian. You can't, like, worship in front of other people, or you can't help with community stuff. Like, so then the things that build your faith are completely different from what I'm used to doing. So like, I have to, if I want to be in God's presence, I have to like read the Bible for myself or worship by myself, and that's just stuff that I'm like not used to doing. But I think one thing that I really like in terms of developing my faith is that the privacy is kind of nice. Like, no one can judge your faith right now because no one can really see it unless you show them. So no one's there to see if you haven't gone to church or if you aren't reading the Bible. And I think like sometimes you don't have that pressure, which is really nice right now.
Great stuff, Ruth. That's terrific.
I think for me it's being able to spend much more time just in God's presence, because I'm not rushing around, not doing my work. That intentionally I have time to sit down and really kind of spend time in God's presence, worship, pray, read the Bible. Like the fact that, like, even though I'm in isolation, like God's not in isolation, that He still wants us to draw near to Him, and it's kind of spending that time really trying to connect with Him more, and setting like routines that I can do when I'm out of lockdown as well.
That's a great thought. Setting in routines that you can do when you're out of lockdown as well. That's interesting. Anyone else?
I think for me, one of the things I struggled with at the start was sort of seeing the blessings through everything. I mean, I think at the start, when everything kind of kicked off, there was a lot of hardship. There's a lot of things with my degree that I wouldn't be able to do. There was a lot of things that I wouldn't be able to do outside of university as well. And it kind of took a while to sort of get out of the pit of seeing all the negative things that were around me and start seeing the positives that were coming out of this. I mean, in my life, certainly, like, the family's closer together than it ever has been. We're having family Zoom meetings with all my grandparents and cousins and things that normally we'd only see each other maybe once every year, once every 2 years.
Wow.
So I think there are definitely blessings that I've seen even through all the hardships that have been going on.
That's great to recognise some benefits there. That's great.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, a lot of good has still come out of it. Like, the togetherness of people, and like with churches coming together, to make a service. And then I've heard stories of people coming to church for the first time because they don't feel anxious of what church is like, and they've just come and enjoyed it, which I think is really good during these times.
That's great. Matthew, what would you like to say?
I was just going to say, maybe following up slightly on what Ethan had said, but I think it is difficult to be in a situation where there's a lot of suffering and a lot of illness around us. And, I guess I myself am lucky that I've not been unwell, but we probably all know people who have been. And we definitely all know people who kind of work in healthcare and so on. So it is a really tough time. And I think it would be wrong to kind of ignore the fact that that is a difficult thing. And sometimes that's kind of philosophical, the evidential problem of evil and so on. But I think there's a more kind of emotional thing. It's like, where's God in all of this? How could all this happen? So I think it's difficult, but I think it's really clear that actually the Bible's okay with that. And I think that if you actually read it, you see many situations where people kind of have these similar kinds of thoughts. And so I think it's kind of teaching us something about, it sounds glib, doesn't it? But I think I think there's a case of when things are really difficult, you can kind of look to God and see him there.
That's great, Matthew. And I think, I would hope that people watching this might, one of the questions in their mind is going to be, how is it as young people you're able to hold on to a faith in a loving God during these kind of times?
Something that I found helpful is because Zoom and group calls are more on our radar now. We didn't really think about them before, but now I think I've started meeting with more people for Bible studies and worship and prayer sessions, stuff like that I never did before, because we took for granted that we'd see each other once a week or twice a week in real life. We never really felt the need to meet electronically, but now that we are to develop faith together.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I think there's something about the kind of things get stripped back and you kind of lose things that you've taken for granted. So I think it really does it almost forces you to think, what's your hope in, what's important to you in life. So, hopefully it's a chance for people to reflect on that.
Great.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say that I think the other thing is your faith is in your hands right now. If you're going to go after God, you can't let someone else pray and then you just say amen at the end, or you can't let someone else do the talk, and you can't talk to someone about God. You have to just talk to God. So I feel devotion times are really personal now. I'm just God, I need to just talk to you and kind of be in your presence rather than letting someone else do the work, and I'm just kind of observing.
I've actually found, for me personally, lockdown has been fairly helpful in terms of faith, because the Christian Union is still putting all its stuff on online. So we're still doing CU events 6 times a week. And then because of partly I don't have deadlines, submissions, I've also had a lot more time to do my own Bible studies. So I've started doing a group of 3 of us. We sort of meet up and we're going through the Bible twice a week. Church is still ongoing. So I think personally it's been fairly helpful, although the one really tricky bit that I'm still trying to work out is how to share my faith with other people, because obviously you're not seeing anyone that you would, be it in lectures or around the campus or in sports teams. So I'm finding that fairly tricky, but generally it's a great time to deepen Bible studies.
Well, to answer your question, Nathan, you may just have done that. So, guys, I want to thank you. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to kind of share your thoughts and your experiences with us.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Well, it was really wonderful chatting to those young people. I find their zest for life just inspiring. And these are all young people that have a real faith in Jesus. If that's something that sparked your interest, then please look at our website. Please consider signing up for the Alpha course. Details are on the website. So see you next Tuesday for the next broadcast. Goodbye from Alex Davey.